Today is going to be about stat plots. You must have your calculator. I will be using the data from page 134, number 18. Page 134, number 18. Okay, I'll go through this. I will go through all the steps and then I will repeat them all at the end. Your calculator will graph all these for you. Your calculator will find the line of best fit, the curve of best fit, the exponential graph, the logarithmic curve, which I know you guys can't wait to do logs again. Stat, which is underneath the delete key. Edit, so push enter for edit. Okay, you may have data in your lists already. Okay, I of course do because I preloaded the information. You may have data in your lists. How do you get rid of it? You can type right over with new information. I don't recommend you do that. What I recommend you do is, let me just type in something. What I recommend is you arrow up so that the list is highlighted and you clear the list. Don't delete, it becomes a royal pain in the butt. Clear. So you push clear, enter, the list goes away. So how do you put the data in? I'm going to use weight as my list 1, and I'm going to use number of raisins as my list 2. Essentially, your X, your Y, your X, your Y. So go ahead and type the data in. Just type in the number, push enter between each entry. Let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, word of caution. Your data in list 1, so the last number is 42.5, and it says, if you notice, if you arrow down, it says list 1, comma 10. It's telling you it's the 10th entry in the list is 42.5. Notice that for list 2, it says L2, list 2, the 10th entry is 86. The number of entries in the list must match. If they don't match, you're going to graph, and the calculator is going to say error, invalid dim, invalid dimensions, must match. So sorry, they must match. So take 10 extra seconds to make sure, okay, I've got 10 entries in list 1, I've got 10 entries in list 2. Okay, quit. I want to see what it looks like. So your calculator will just go ahead and graph all the points for you. Y equals. You'll notice I have all kinds of extra stuff in my calculator. I'm going to delete this. Okay. Arrow up, turn on plot 1. So arrow up, push enter, it is now highlighted. If you do not have the plot turned on, you're not going to see the scatter plot. Stat plot, scatter plot, same thing. So if you go to zoom, one of them actually says stat. So zoom, either arrow down or push 9, and there are the points. Y equals. If your plot is turned off, you're going to have a blank screen. So again, Y equals, turn the plot on, zoom 9, and there's your stat plot. So that's how you get the graph to show up. Okay, so this really does look like a random scatter plot. I don't think it really follows much of any kind of shape. Maybe you could argue that it's linear. Maybe you could argue that. So let's just try and see what happens. Stat, calculate. I'm going to either push number 4 or arrow down to number 4 for linreg. Stands for linear regression. AX plus B. I do not know why it's not MX plus B, but whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna have the calculator calculate the linear regression. Everybody's calculator here might be slightly different depending on the model you have. If you have a TI-83, you're gonna need to Google stat plots to get some extra help. If you have an 83, you're going to have to Google stat plots to get some extra help. Okay. Remember I said we're going to use list 1 as my X, list 2 as my Y. Arrow down. I'm not going to lie, I don't know what frequency list is. I'm assuming it stands for frequency. Not only is the calculator going to find the line of best fit for me, it's going to store it so that I don't have to bother typing it into my Y equals. So it's going to calculate it mathematically, and then it's also going to store it for me in my Y1, Y2, Y3. This is very counterintuitive. Alpha trace brings up this menu. All right, where do I want the calculator to store the regression? Well, I can have it stored in my Y1, my Y2. You can do whatever you want. I have equations in my Y1 and my Y2 that I don't want to get rid of. I'd like to keep those. So I'm going to arrow down to Y3. Choose wherever you want. Ms. Babiak, that's not an option for mine. Okay, then what you have to do is you actually have to write down the equation and type it into the Y equals yourself. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Enter, enter, here it is. So what do I mean by, Ms. Babiak, I don't have that whole Y3 thing. You need to actually write this down for yourself and then type it into the Y equals on your own. So it's 11.4, I know it's blurry, but it's the only way I can get the glare not to be horrible. So if you look, Y equals, boom, mine's already there for me. Those of you that don't have that alpha trace option, you have to actually write down the equation and type it into your Y equals yourself. Do I have to write down all those numbers? And my answer is, yeah. You know what? The calculator did all the work for you. You can write down 10, decimal numbers. Graph, there it is. Okay. Now let's check out the table. So let's say that I wanted to know if the weight is, whatever. If the weight is, how about 46 or something, how many raisins can I fit? Now you're going to use your table. Second table. And something is wrong. Oh, no, it's not. So I'm going to do my table set. Second table set. I'm going to start at 46. That's just, I picked some random number. And go to your table. 127.54 raisins. So 127 or 128. That's a lot of raisins shoved into a little box. All right. So let me go through the whole thing once again really quick. Put the data in, stat, edit, and type the data into list 1, list 2. If you have new data, you can type right over it. I recommend clearing your lists or using list 3 and list 4. Y equals, make sure that the plot is turned on. If the plot is not turned on, you will not see the data. To see it, zoom 9. To get some regression equations, stat, calculate, choose which regression you want. So I'll just do number 4 again. Make sure that the lists match up. So I want list 1 and list 2. Store it, alpha trace, pick where you want it. I want to quit out. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Sorry. Stat, calculate for alpha trace. Just pick wherever. Enter, enter, and there's the regression equation. And then the line will show up. And if you go to your y equals, notice that I chose y sub 5 the last time, so I put it there. That is stat plots.